Welcome to How You Livin', a transformative podcast featuring best-selling author, inspirational speaker, and minister, Dr. Rick Rigsby. And now, Dr. Rick.
Hello, friends. Thanks so much for joining us. I want to inspire you by talking about being an inspiration. We love movies that inspire. Rudy, Rocky, how about Russell Crowe in The Gladiator? You remember Chariots of Fire or Gandhi? One of my favorite movies, never made it to the box office, but the television distribution of this story was so inspiring that I showed the movie in a few of my college classes. The film is called Door to Door, about a salesman in Portland, Oregon, who suffered from cerebral palsy. William Macy played Bill Porter, a salesman for the Watkins Company, a company that provided a variety of household items. Despite great pain and personal discomfort, Bill Porter walked several miles a day to serve his customers. And throughout his long career, Porter not only won over the hearts of his customers, but he was named top salesman in the western region of the United States several years running. That's inspirational. We love books that inspire. How about The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale, or 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey? How about Atomic Habits by James Clear, or my recent favorite, Make Your Bed by retired Admiral William H. McRaven? I love books that inspire me to jump higher, to reach farther. I love books that challenge me to be a better person. And we esteem people who inspire, from Mother Teresa to Martin Luther King to Winston Churchill to Maya Angelou to Steve Jobs. We love being around inspiring people who challenge us to be better. I have a question for you. Who comes to mind when you hear a phrase like, they inspired a generation of people? My list includes the likes of Rosa Parks, astronaut Sally Ride, Michael Jordan. How about German composer and pianist Beethoven? Legally deaf, yet he's considered among the most admired composers in the history of Western music. I just listened again to all 4 movements of Symphony No. 1 last night. 30 minutes of artistic brilliance that leaves the listener mesmerized with a gleeful joy. What is it about people who inspire? How are they different? Simply stated, people who inspire find a way to overcome obstacles. They're characterized by being proactive, innovative, forward-thinking. Here's the big distinguishing factor. They dedicate their lives to pursuing a cause, and that cause is for the betterment of everyone, not just themselves. It's been said to be inspired takes but a moment, but to be inspirational takes a lifetime. The dictionary defines inspiration as the process of being mentally stimulated to do or feel something. The process of being mentally stimulated. This explains why I can watch a movie with Fred Astaire or a video of Michael Jackson, and I'm mentally stimulated to want to get up and dance. This may explain why I love reading about people who triumph against all odds. I think about people such as Wilma Rudolph. You remember Wilma Rudolph. As a girl growing up in Clarksville, Tennessee, she had to wear a corrective leg brace due to several childhood illnesses, including polio, which left one of her legs very weak. How do you go from wearing a leg brace until age 12 to 4 years later qualifying for the United States Olympic team? Oh, baby. And then in 1960, she qualified again for the Olympics in Rome. That was a record-setting year. Wilma set the world record in the 200-meter dash. That record stood for 8 years, while also qualifying for the 1960 Olympic team in the 100-meter dash. And in Rome in 1960, she won 3 gold medals. 3. The young woman who just a few years earlier was in a leg brace became the first American woman to win 3 gold medals in a single Olympiad. You don't have to be a world-class athlete or a movie star or well-known to be inspiring. How about that single mother who works 2 jobs? How about the man in prison who earns a law degree? Or how about the 75-year-old that I recently met who just graduated with his bachelor's degree at 75? But you do have to possess a few important qualities. An inspiring person is someone with the urge or ability to do or feel something creative, and they do it in such a way that others benefit. And that creativity can take many forms, from artistic to athletic to uplifting. Some of the most inspiring people I know use their talents and gifts and resources to uplift and encourage others. They are steadfast in their commitment to help people. They are loyal to a fault when it comes to others, and they are relentless, often going that extra mile to offer any kind of assistance they can. I cannot help but think of my mom and my dad, 2 people who were largely unknown outside their families, yet they were and are my greatest inspirations. Arthur Ashe once said, "Start where you are. Use what you've got. Do what you can." Arthur Ashe. You talk about inspirational. How do you go from the segregated public tennis courts of Richmond, Virginia, to being one of the greatest tennis players in the world? Arthur Ashe would tell you to start where you are. Use what you've got and do what you can. And my mom and dad epitomize this definition. Let me tell you a story about my mother, and in telling this story, you'll see her true genius. When I was growing up, it seemed like the only thing I really knew how to do well was talk. And so what did my mother do? My mother put me in situations that forced me to talk, in leadership situations, whether it was in football or civic organizations or church. It didn't matter. It seemed like I was always talking. There's a genius there, right? And I want to tell you something. She understood that. It's been said that talent will help you to reach targets that everyone sees, but genius will cause you to hit targets that nobody sees but you. My mother always saw the target. In fact, she would tell me when other kids would laugh at me for the way in which I talked in a rather proper way, my mother would remind me, "Ricky, that's a gift from God. And one day you're going to be on stages all over the world using that gift." My mother was genius. How did she do it? Well, Arthur Ashe would tell you she did it this way. She started right where she was. She used what she had, and she did what she could. And then there's my dad. If you think my mom is inspirational, how about my father, my mentor, my coach, my teacher, my role model? The lessons from my father have been life-changing, not just for me, but for a generation of people all over the world. Lessons like, son, don't ever judge people, or you'd rather be an hour early than a minute late. Be kind to people. Kind deeds are never lost. Son, be a servant. Make sure your servant's towel is bigger than your ego. Son, be excellent in everything you do. Do your best. And perhaps the greatest lesson my father taught me, the most inspirational lesson my dad taught me, was on the worst day of my life, when I'm standing in front of the casket of my first wife, and my father simply said 3 words, "Son, just stand." May not sound like much, but I've carried that inspiring message for the last 26 years, and I will carry that message for the rest of my life. To say that lesson was inspirational would be a huge understatement. I was mentally stimulated to keep moving, to keep going forward, to keep standing, to not quit, to not give up. I want to tell you something, friends. I've discovered that being an inspiration helps you develop some important traits along the way. Traits like never quitting, determination, resilience, traits like forward thinking, but also traits like grace and mercy, humility, and selflessness. You see, it's very difficult to be self-absorbed when you're trying to inspire someone else. So, with that thought in mind, if you're feeling a little blue today, if you're a bit down for whatever reason, if you're going through a rough patch right now, determined to be an inspiration to someone else, inspiring others may be the very spark you need to pull yourself out of the pit. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Until we meet again, this is Dr. Rick asking the most important question I can ask. How you living?
Are you ready to make an impact in your world right now? Do you want to stop existing and start living your best life right now? Dr. Rick wants to give you the first chapter of his best-selling book, Lessons from a Third Grade Dropout, absolutely free. Just go to www.rickrigsby.com/free gift to get the print or audiobook right now.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.